What is up, Jamily? This is Jamiro Fan 2000, and welcome to a new series here on the Jamiro Fan 2000 YouTube channel called JAMIRO'S Collection, where basically I'll be individually showing off some select pieces from my JAMIROQUAI and other music artist rarity collection of promos, singles, paper sleeve promos, etc. So I'm going to be showing off a few of this and a few of these parts of my collection in this new series. So starting off, I thought I'd start off with simple paper sleeve promos and a few other miscellaneous promos from other artists that aren't JAMIROQUAI. And I thought I'd get this out of the way and then I'd get on to the JAMIROQUAI stuff in future episodes. So let's get right into it. We start off with the first paper promo of many people here in the United States are familiar with the American hip-hop artist Kanye West. Well, let me give a little background on my collection. Most of this collection was pretty much collected through me frequenting a lot of my independent record stores here on the East Coast of the U.S. And there are a lot of independent record stores, and they deserve all of our support in selling music. But a lot of these record stores would take a lot of their leftover promos and put them into the UCD section. So I'd find these promos for like maybe $1, $2, $3 here and there. But I used to frequent my indie stores like Tower Records and Plan 9 Music and a few others and collect these promos over the years, and I've gotten piles and piles of promos. But I picked the best promos out of my collection to show off in this new series, so I thought I'd give a little backstory to start off with. But as I was saying, many people in the United States are familiar with the hip-hop artist Kanye West. Well, I have a paper promo of Kanye West's first album that was released in 2004 for College Dropout. This was Kanye West's first major label album debut, and this is a paper promotion for his first album, College Dropout, which is really cool because this guy dressed up as a bear, that's Kanye. So they don't show it on this paper sleeve, but this is basically a mixtape with some special versions of some of the songs from his debut album from 2004, A College Dropout. Now we move on to a band who I've been following since the early 00s. They are a glam rock funk band, not funky, but they originally started out as a Electric Clash duo. And if you don't know what Electric Clash is, Electric Clash was a subgenre that was started in the early 00s up in New York City by electronic artists and people who made dance music. And this band I followed since the beginning, they're called the Scissor Sisters. And you might remember them from 2005, 2006, their hit song Take Your Mama. Well, I've been following Scissor Sisters for a few years now, and they've been putting out consistently great, like, dance, funk-type albums. So I have a few of their promos right here. This is a first paper promo. This is one of the first paper promos they put out when they signed to a major label. And it is an enhanced CD. You can see the back, it's got their logo. And it's an enhanced CD with their actual EPK, which has got their story of how they became a band. And then, as I said, the Scissor Sisters started out as a duo called between Baby Daddy and a guy named Jake Shears. So that's one of the first promos before their debut album, self-titled debut album, came out in the early 00s. And then we have a sampler of their second major label album, which was called Tada. This was actually put through Best Buy, and it features a few little previews of their second album, Tada, which was their second album to come out in, I believe, 2006. So that's Scissor Sisters. Now we move on to a band that was actually a label mate of JAMIROQUAI back in the early 00s, before they got dropped after they put out a second album. The first album was multi-platinum selling. It was a British band called Toploader. And they had a mainstream hit song with them covering a song called Dancing in the Moonlight. Well, I did a lot of street team promotions for the band, you might say. And street teams back in the early 00s was kind of a new concept. It was actually getting fans to promote a band online back in the early days or the infancy of social media. This is before Twitter, this is before Facebook blew up, this is before social media became a big, almost over-communicative quagmire. But I was part of this is a unplugged CD they put out through their street team that they gave away for free on their website. And as I said, Toploader started out of the gate with just a very promising band. They were on Sony with JAMIROQUAI, and Toploader was an amazing band when they started out. But this was, their debut album was called Anka's Big Mocha, and it was, they were a great band. They ended up getting dropped after their second album because this album would sell like 3 or 4 million copies. The second album came out that was called the Magic Bus, I believe. it would not end up selling near 1 million copies, so they got dropped from Sony. And now, luckily, they are an indie band, and they're still putting out music. They took a few years off, but they are back putting music out, so that's really good news. I really liked Toploader back in the day. Now we come to a band that actually started out around when JAMIROQUAI was at its hottest, but this was a British indie band by the name of Kanopus. And many fans in the JAMIROQUAI community, especially old fans, got to know the band members of Kanopus. This was their first EP they actually put out. This was put out in 2004, 2005. And they were a nice little funky band that came out of London. JAMIROQUAI was one of their heaviest influences. But as I said, some of the band members got in communication with some of the JAMIROQUAI fans, especially on JAMIRO Talk, and especially me. And I got to know the band members like Lizzie Parks and Leo Altorelli and all the others. And they were very, very cool. And this was actually their first EP they put out. And they actually sent me a few copies of it for free. And they ended up dissolving. You know how bands are. Bands come out in the scene, they don't get a lot of sales, they want to move on to other projects, but Kanopus was a great little band, and if you get a chance, check out their stuff. Look up Kanopus on a Google search, and their stuff is so good. I loved Kanopus back then. Then there's another British band that came out of the big Britpop music scene with bands like with bands leading a charge like Oasis, Blur, Pulp. Well, there was another British band called by the name of Supergrass. And Supergrass was actually another one of probably the second tier of the British pop bands that I really liked. And Supergrass were really a cool little, like, they started out very like teenage pubescent rock like, you know. But this was a promo for their album, the self-titled, I believe the third album, and this was a promo put out through Revolver magazine, which I believe was a magazine put through Musicland and Island Records. But this was a promo for their third album, and as you can see, the music video for the lead single from this album was called "Pump It on Your Stereo." It was done by the Jim Henson Company, and it was all like marionettes, and it was done black screen style, where the puppeteers are all in black, and the puppet appendages are all colored. So, if you've not seen the video for this, go on YouTube, look up Supergrass and "Pumping on Your Stereo." Amazing music video, absolutely could be considered groundbreaking. But yeah, it's a promo for Supergrass. And then finally, for my paper promos of other bands other than JAMIROQUAI, we come to a band that kind of started out very, very interesting. They started up in the early '00s, right around the time that some grunge was pretty much stopping, and garage rock was becoming big with like bands of Strokes, The Rapture, and a few other. When basically the second tier of alternative music started getting really popular. This was a very interesting choral group that was started by a guy named Tim DeLaughter, who was part of a grunge band, a secondary grunge band called the what was it called? Tripping Nancy's, I believe they were called. But Tim DeLaughter ended up dissolving that band and starting a new band called the Polyphonic Spree. And they were very unique of their time. They were not a cult. They looked cultish, but they were basically, think of them as a pop music choral group. And they put out really life-affirming music, and I would best characterize their sound as very much what the Beatles were trying to do between Sgt. Pepper's, or like the Beatles doing the Beach Boys. That's the best way I can describe it. It was very choral music. It was very forward-thinking. And this is a promo for their first single, Light and Day. And I love the whole gimmick with them in white smocks. But this was a band that wasn't necessarily formed. It was basically Tim DeLaughter put out the, like, you want to be in our band, we want to be this. It was purely voluntary. So people would join this band, and the sound was absolutely like Sgt. Pepper's meets the Beach Boys. It was so nice. And then another promo. This is their this is a Hollywood Records single promo from them. But I really liked the Polyphonic Spree. Put out like about 3 or 4 albums consecutively. The last one they put out, I believe, was 2007. It was called Fragile Army. They sound absolutely amazing, And one more paper promo from the Polyphonic Spree for Light and Day. And as I said, these are just paper promos I got from over the years, and I just collected them. And that is the first video for my JAMIRO'S Collection video series. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will put up some links to the Spotify artist pages of these promos that I featured in this episode in the description of this video down below, so be sure to check those out. And check out all those bands, because they are all so darn good. And really worth the time to check out. And I'll see you again really soon with another episode of JAMIRO'S Collection. Bye, everybody.